In this video, we are going to build an AI lead qualifier voice agent that evaluates leads when they fill in a form, and then an AI voice agent calls them if they are qualified depending on a specific criteria. So if you have a business where you want to respond to your leads as soon as possible, you will find this useful, but you can also sell this to any kind of companies. We will build it in the real estate niche, but it's highly customizable, so you can make it for any kind of businesses. And I will also share the completed workflow in my resource hub for free. You will be able to find it in the description, but you can also find the link in the comment section below. So this is how it's going to work. I created a type form where a lead has the option to fill in their details. They can fill in their first name, phone number, email, and when they press OK, it will ask for a couple of more questions. For example, what is your budget range? Let's select something. It will also ask if we are looking for a property in these specific states. Let's select Florida. And it also asks for the property type. Let's select condo. When do you plan to purchase a property? Let's select 1 to 3 months. Are you pre-approved for a mortgage? Yes. Are you currently working with a real estate agent? Let's select no. And then we can submit the form. And the n8n workflow will evaluate my answers, and it will decide if I'm qualified for a follow-up call depending on a specific criteria. And it's already calling me, so I'm going to pick up the phone.
Hello, is this Tom?
Yes, who is this?
Tom, I see you've expressed interest in property investment. Could you share your main goal for the property, whether you plan to live in it, rent it out, or something else?
And when I end the call, it will record the transcript and also the summary of the call in Google Sheets. So you can see that it recorded all my answers from the form, and it also inserted the transcript and the summary of the call. I also created a Miro flowchart that explains the flow. First, we will send the form submission. Then it will trigger an n8n workflow that evaluates the lead. Then we will save the lead's data in Google Sheets. And if they are not qualified, we just end the workflow. We are not going to do anything. But if the lead is qualified, we are going to initiate a call with Vapi. And after the call, we will save the summary of the call and also the transcript. So if you want to do the same, you can go to typeform.com and create a new form. I already have mine, so I'm going to go to n8n and start working on the workflow. The first node will be a type form trigger, and this will be triggered every time the form has been submitted. So you can connect to your account and also select your form name. To connect your account, you will need to have an API key. So if you go to Typeform and you go to your settings, you can click on personal tokens and you can just create a token here. Then you can paste it into your n8n workflow. So once you have this trigger, what we are going to do is I'm going to click on save and activate it. And then I'm going to go back to my form. Let's fill in these fields. So it will actually send data to our new n8n workflow. Let's select the budget range, also the location, what type of property. You can select anything. When do you plan to purchase a property? Yes. Are you currently working? No. And we can click on submit. And if we go back to n8n, we will see that we received the form submission data. And if you open this node, you can see all your answers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click these icons and this will copy all the answers. And then let's go back to the editor and we can pin all this data. So we don't have to fill in the form every time we want to test it. We can just pin it here and we can use all these answers. We can close this and let's add an aggregator, because I want to be able to access all these answers later on in the LLM node. And if I have it in this format, I have to manually drag in all these answers. So what I'm going to do is create an aggregate node, and I'm going to select all item data. And if I click on test tab, you can see that it assigned all my answers in a data field. So what we are going to do next is add an LLM chain. Let's select define below for the prompt. And let's say you are a lead qualifier expert. Your task is to qualify real estate leads depending on their answers in the pre-qualifier form. And let's add a criteria for qualification. Budget must be $300,000 or more. Must be in one of the target markets. Texas, Florida, or Arizona. Must select multifamily, condo, or investment property. Must buy within less than 6 months. Must be yes or no, but willing to get pre-approved. Must not already be working with another agent. Only output the result yes or no. The responses from the form. And here we are going to drag in the data field that the aggregator created. So let's drag it. And here if I click on it, you can see that it says object. So what we are going to do is we are going to stringify it so it will be readable by the LLM. What we need to write here is json.stringify. And now you can see that we have all the data. This is a nice trick you can use if you want to feed object or array into your NLM. You can click on test tab and we received an error because we need to connect a model. So I'm going to select my OpenAI model. And now we can click on test workflow. And it returned us yes, which means that the lead is qualified to have a call. So next we will save the lead data in Google Sheets. So let's create a Google Sheets node. And we need to select append row in sheet. And here you need to select your Google Sheet. This is how mine looks like. It has all the fields that the type form asked. And I also added a transcript and a summary, which will be received after the call. So let's go back to n8n and connect this sheet. Let's select your sheet. And here we need to provide all the values that we received from the form submission. So I'm going to drag the first name, the last name, email, phone number, company, budget, location, which will be Florida, the property type, time frame will be 1 to 3 months, pre-approved, has agent, and the qualified data, which will come from the basic LLM chain. And you can leave the transcript and summary empty. So let's click on test tab. And now it received all the data. So next we need to add an if node, which will check if the lead is qualified to have a follow-up call. Then we will initiate the call with Vapi. But if not, we are not going to do anything. So let's click on the plus button and create an if node. And we need to drag in the result from the basic LLM chain. And if it's yes, then we are going to move forward to the Vapi call, which will be initiated by an HTTP request node. And let's go to the Vapi documentation. And let's find the post create call endpoint. We need to send the request to this endpoint because this will initiate the call. So I'm going to copy this and paste it in the URL field. This will be a post request. And you need to authenticate your account. And what you can do is click on generic credential type and select header out. I already authenticated my account, but what you need to do is create a new credential. And here you need to write authorization. And here you need to insert your API key from Vapi. And you will be able to find it in the organization settings, API keys. And you can just copy this key. And the way you need to write that is to write bearer space your API key. And then you can click on save. And this is how it will look like. So bearer space and your API key there. So I'm going to close this. And we also need to send the body. For the specify body, let's select using JSON. And I'm just going to paste in the body that we are going to use. So it will ask for your assistant ID. You need to go to the Vapi dashboard and go to your assistant. Let's create an assistant. I'm going to call it James. Let's click on create assistant. And let's provide a first message. Let's say, hello, is this? And write curly braces. And inside the curly braces, let's add first name. And we will feed this variable from the n8n workflow. This is the way you tell Vapi to always say the lead's name. For the system prompt, I'm going to paste in the prompt I've created. I'm also going to share this in my resource hub. You can find it in the description below. And what we need to do is just click on publish. And now we have an assistant. So we need to copy the assistant ID. So let's go to this copy button here and click on copy assistant ID. And now we can go back to our n8n workflow and switch the assistant ID to ours. And what we also want to do is pass some of the variables that we received from the form submission. So I'm going to pass the first name, budget, and timeline to the voice agent. And also we need to specify the customer's phone number. This will also come from the lead submission. And I'm using Twilio, so you need to fill in your credentials here. And once you have that, let's click on test tab. And I should receive a call. Yes, I'm receiving a call, so everything works as expected. So let's close this and click on save. Let's also give a name to this workflow. I'm going to say evaluate and call. By the way, if you don't want to use Typeform, let's say you have a form on your website, what you have to do is instead of this Typeform trigger, you need to create a webhook node and send the form submission data to that node. The next thing we have to do is when the call has ended, we will receive the transcript and the summary of the call from the voice agent. So we will create another n8n workflow, which will look for the end of call events. So let's create a new workflow. And for the first node, let's add a webhook node. Let's switch to production URL and let's switch the HTTP method to post. And we can just copy this. And let's go back to your voice agent and go to the advanced section and let's go all the way to the bottom and let's open the messaging tab. And here to the server URL field, let's paste in your webhook URL. So it will send all the events that are happening during the call to this URL. You can also specify the server messages. For example, conversation update, end of call report. This is what we will need. Inside the workflow, we are going to check if it's an end of call report. Don't forget to publish your changes. Let's click on publish. Let's go back to your n8n workflow, click on save and activate the workflow. And now let's call the voice agent to receive some data. So I'm going to initiate a call. Yeah, I can disconnect the call and you can see that it sends all kind of reports to us. And it will soon also send an end of call report. I think this should be that, or this one. Yes, you can see that the type is end of call report. So let's copy all this message and let's go to the editor and we are also going to pin this data. So we don't have to call ourselves every time we want to test it. Click on save and we can close this. And you can see in the execution step that it sends a bunch of messages. For example, it sends one for speech update. What I'm actually going to do is I'm going to go to the Vapi dashboard and I'm going to remove everything except the end of call report for now. But if you don't do this and you want to handle multiple messages, what you can do is go to the n8n workflow and create an if node. And here you're gonna have to check if the type is end of call report. So if it's true, let's proceed with the workflow. If it's not, let's do something else. You can also use a switch node if you want to handle multiple messages. And you can add multiple rows. So if you want to handle all kind of messages, you can do it like this. I'm just going to delete this. So if it's true, if it's an end of call report, I need to identify a lead first so I can update the correct row. So let's add the Google Sheet node. And we need to select get row in sheet. And let's select your sheet. And let's add a filter. We need to filter by phone number. Let's execute this. And here we need to find the customer's phone number. And here it is, customer's phone number. And you can see that it returns the customer's phone number with the plus prefix. But inside our Google Sheet, we don't have that. We have it without the plus prefix. And if I click on test tab, it's not going to return anything. So what we need to do is do a little JavaScript trick. So what we need to do is write dot slice, and inside brackets, let's write 1. And you can see that the prefix has disappeared. The way this works in JavaScript is that always the first element will start with 0, and the second one will be 1, the third will be 2. That's why we need to write 1 here, because we need to get the string starting from the first index, which will be without the plus prefix. And now if I click on test tab, it retrieved the records for that phone number. I have multiple, so I'm going to delete all of them except one. Let's also delete the transcript. And now if I click on test tab, it gave me only one. And next we just need to update the row with the transcript and summary. So let's create another Google Sheet node. And let's click on update row in sheet. Let's select the document and also the sheet. And for the column to match on, I'm going to select the row number, which will come from the previous Google Sheet node. And we can delete all these properties, except the transcript and summary. I don't know why it doesn't let me delete the company, but it's fine for now. Let's find the transcript that is coming from the webhook node. I have the summary here. We just need to have the transcript. And now we can click on test workflow. And it should update the same row with the transcript and summary. And this is it. This is a super easy workflow that you can use in your own company or also sell it to other businesses. I hope you found this tutorial helpful. And if you want to get the n8n workflows, you can get it from my resource hub. I'm going to put the link in the description below and also in the comment section. It is completely free. You can just fill in your email and you will get all the workflows that I'm showing in my videos. If you need a custom voice agent or automation for your business, I'm going to put my email address in the description. So feel free to reach out to me and I will help you out. Thank you so much for watching and see you in the next video.